3 minutes past, 3 or 4 minutes past 2. We have a quorum. Everybody's here. Nicole's not here, and neither is James. I know James is ill. He may not show up, but he said he was going to try. Okay. First, I just want a general thing. I think I neglected my responsibilities over the last month getting things together. So hopefully we'll get through this meeting, and anything that I've not done will get done in the next meeting. First order of business is the approval of the minutes of September 14th, 2024. They were attached to the agenda that Josh set out. Are there any, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, is any discussion on the minutes?
They look good.
All in favor of the minutes? I'll take, can we do we have to do a roll call, Josh?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I guess we're supposed the planning board does. All right. Pat,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes. Wait.
Shirley?
Oh, Paul's not a voting member.
Yeah, vote, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that. Shirley?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Wait a minute, am I a voting member?
Yep.
As I was saying yes, I was thinking I'm not supposed to do this.
Yep. Bill and Paul are the only non-voting members.
Let's get it straight now. When I say get it straight, I'm talking about my head. The non-voting members are the employees of the town, correct?
Yep.
Everybody else is a voting member.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Public comment? Anybody, public? I see a mic out there who's still trying to connect to audio. I don't know what's going on, but if Mike, if you can hear me, I would suggest you go off and try again and sign out and try signing on again. All right.
Ray,
Yeah.
I was speaking with Bill Maltby earlier, and he said he was coming on. Did he get, he was coming, or he was going to be at this meeting?
Right.
Did he get the address for the meeting? You know?
Yeah, see, that's another thing. He did. I mean, Josh sent it out. I usually send out a reminder of it, and I didn't do that. I hope he did.
I can send another quick reminder real quick.
All right, why don't you do that?
Thanks, Josh.
Yep.
All right, I'm just gonna keep going. The recommended tree list, recommended trees I put on the agenda, I should not have, but we already talked about the last meeting. It did go to the planning board, they have approved, so that's finalized already. Tree City update for Nicole, we'll put that off until hopefully Nicole will come on. The tree ordinance, Josh, you want to wait for Bill or you want?
Yeah, I can wait for Bill. That's no problem.
All right, okay. Forestry Department bucket truck, I think we've all talked about that. That's Paul, have you had anything new from Michael on that or still?
I have not talked to him.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, Pat?
The minutes said we were supposed to get some response from town manager by this meeting. So we haven't had a response on that.
Josh, I think you mentioned that you had talked to him.
Yeah, I did ask him about that. And he is going to, he did say that he wanted to talk to Paul, because I believe Paul has all the information. But he said that it will be considered for the capital improvement list.
All right.
When does that go through? The capital.
Paul would actually might have some more insight on that.
So we just, I think we confused the years. We just approved FY23's capital this July, right? Like it always seems to be a little behind.
Mm-hmm.
So we meet with finance, we put together a capital purchase worksheet. With the specifics and some photos of the equipment that we want, and then it gets prioritized within our department internally and then within the town as a whole's needs.
Where does it stand within your department, Paul? Bucket truck.
Well, I think we're actually in pretty good shape right now. They've been very generous to us over the last 5 years or so with snow and ice equipment and trucks, and so it would move up the line rather quickly, in my opinion. It just matters on when the town's ready to put the whole picture together. It doesn't do me any good to have a truck sitting here without a crew to run it. So there's kind of a bigger picture. So it could be, we could prioritize it for FY 25 or 6, but if we don't have the employees, then we just bump it back. So things are constantly moving within that scenario.
Hmm.
As Michael indicated, what you're saying is that, yes, a truck is senseless unless you have people to use it.
Right.
He indicated that he's willing to combine the two. In other words, get the truck and people with it, or is it? I don't, you're right that you don't want to do things, just get one thing and not another. I mean, does he understand that? Does he?
I believe he does. I just think we have to probably have another conversation with him and with our finance department and budgetary, find out where we are and when it can happen.
I'm wondering if we can get more definite on this and put together a recommended timeline that we would recommend to Michael or both of you, or however it goes. We just seem to be dragging this on and on and on. And I don't think we're going to be able to move into any kind of major tree planting until we get these things.
Well, I take it, wait a minute, Paul, I take it what you're saying is that this is not going to happen until the next budget, correct?
There definitely won't be a truck until the next budget.
Okay, so
And
in other words, next July at the earliest.
I can't speak for them, but I don't know. I don't want to speak for them. I feel like we could probably move on an employee before the truck, I would think, because there's still plenty to do. We had an employee and we have the money for it.
Well, sort of based on what Shirley's saying, would it be worthwhile for us as a group to send a detailed recommendation to Michael, or do you think you and Michael can work it out?
Maybe if Josh could maybe see if we can set something up, myself and Michael, I wouldn't mind meeting with him, 15 minutes, just try to get an update.
Yeah, I can get that set up.
It'd be easier for me to spend 15 minutes with him than get everybody up there and.
Right. Well, I was thinking if you can just get a timeline, I mean, I think this group, maybe shouldn't put it in your heads, but I think we'd be pleased to know that we're online to get the person and the truck by the next budget cycle. I know it's almost a year away, but it's better than nothing. And in other words, and maybe a meeting would be a beginning anyway.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think the important thing would be simply, Paul, to get that timeline, to say, okay, I mean, are we agreed that we can have the money for the bucket truck and the person in the next fiscal year budget? Anybody else on this? I mean, I think this is very important, and Shirley's keeps pushing us, and she's right. This should be done. I mean, if anything that we're doing, I mean, this is critical.
Right.
Anybody want any comments?
I just think that, like what Shirley said, tree planting and such. I really think the employee should come before the equipment, because there's as much as there's smaller pruning to be done, there's planting that could be done, there's inventories that can be done. There's a lot of work that could be done before anybody gets in a bucket and starts cutting.
Right.
Well, I remember the conversation early on was we couldn't find an employee because the employee needed a bucket truck. So it looked like we were waiting for the bucket truck in order to get somebody who would be willing to take the job to do the work. Now, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now we have enough work to do for an employee, and we can wait a year for the bucket truck. Is that what I'm understanding?
So you know, you're entirely right by saying that. I'm not gonna argue with that, but I think as long as we know the truck's coming, I don't think you would want to get an employee and make an empty promise. If we know what's gonna happen, I think we could build that department and have things to do. If we have no clue when it's coming, then we'd be giving, you know, we'd be lying to somebody essentially.
Would it help to formalize this by maybe having a letter sent from this committee to Michael saying just what you said, that we need to hire first an employee and be guaranteed that their bucket truck will come in during fiscal year, whatever that might be. And then you and Michael sit down and get to the nuts and bolts of it.
I think I would like to meet with him first and talk
thank
to
you.
him, and then maybe report that back to everybody.
I tend to agree with Paul, Shirley. I mean, we've
Okay.
already sent 2 letters to him.
Okay.
I know he's very much impressed by our power, but I think, yeah, I think let's see what Paul can do. So Paul, can you say you can give us a report at the next meeting in November on your meeting with him?
Providing we can meet, which shouldn't be an issue, it shouldn't take very long, I mean, I don't see any issue with that.
All he has to do is say yes, yes, and yes. That's all.
1 minute.
That's right, 1 minute. And then get him to sign on a dotted line. All right, good. No, that's important. I'm glad we discussed that. Tree mitigation, Nicole's not here.
Looks like Mike,
You were
it looks
working,
like Mike is available. If you wanted to ask him if he has any comments.
who?
Mike, the guest.
On the mitigation?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just, since Nicole isn't here, maybe you can go back to the public comment.
Oh, I thought he could have. Mike, wherever you are, do you want to say something? No? Okay. Tree mitigation, Nicole gave a report last time. Who was working with her on that?
I'm working with her, and we haven't had a chance to meet since the last meeting. But I wonder, could you carry this on to the next meeting?
Of course. Okay, where were you at the last meeting, just to clarify, Shirley?
I don't think it was even brought up at the last meeting, to tell you the truth. I could be wrong, but.
Oh, we did, but anyway. All right, and again, this is what you're doing, just to clarify, is to make recommendations to the various boards about cutting of trees and mitigation for it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we need a formula, and Nicole did pass one out, I believe, but that was several meetings ago. And it was a little hard to read, and we wanted to simplify it so that everybody could understand what it was in actual dollars and cents by the foot of diameter of trees and so on. So if we can wait until the next meeting, I think
course.
that would be helpful. Okay.
I think we discussed this at the last meeting, in that this idea of formula, do other towns have a formula? Do you know?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Is the formula the same? In other
No.
words, how did,
No, formula is decided by the town. I'm sure they include employees' wages and things of that sort. So it is not the same for all towns.
why would employee wages have anything to do with it?
It's an
Talk about
expense to the town.
What?
That's an expense to the town that we're spending on tree work.
I think I mentioned before, when we did the solar farm on 18, I believe it was Carlton Hunt who came up with a formula, a mathematical formula, forgetting about employees and size of the town, just a mathematical formula for cutting your trees.
I thought it was just a figure that you threw out and they agreed to.
Yeah, in the end, that's what we did.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is he had a formula. I'm not sure where he got it, about figuring acreage and number of trees being cut down as to how much it would cost.
Diameters and dollars come into
Yeah,
different, yeah.
Bill, you're saying that the towns decide this based on other factors?
Well, you're right. Many towns have different formulas for pretty much the same thing. But Pat's right. It's going to boil down to a cost per inch or per diameter. You know, get an average diameter for a tree and then spread it out over however much acreage is being affected.
Okay, I mean, that's, I don't disagree. I know I brought up before that I don't remember exactly, but I think the formula that I think it was Carlton that came up with would have given the town less money than by just negotiating a figure. But obviously, if you have a formula that's accepted, then that's probably the way we would go anyway. I think it was, and again, I apologize for my lax mood in this last month, but I think Nicole questioned, for instance, in the proposed development at the Cape, at the lake, that if you're going to cut trees down, that you could also leave certain trees. In other words, a formula for leaving certain trees and cutting others. I believe that, surely you're nodding. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. I was sort of a trade-off. If they cut fewer trees, and then we were able to select trees either to be newly planted or within the cutting area, trees that would remain. So it was sort of, we'll let you take down this much if you'll keep this much, or put up this much.
Right.
Wouldn't this have to be approved by our town council and, so we're not
Right.
going to be able to use it over here,
Mhm.
but we have to have it for our future.
Good question, Pat. I don't know. I mean, if it's simply planning board rules and regulations, the planning board does that themselves.
Oh, they
Yeah.
can do that.
If
Okay,
it's
good.
zoning, then it is town council.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, this is important. I mean, we should continue this, make sure that we get something out of this. I think this is critical to the town, that we have something in writing as to when a developer comes in and says, we're gonna cut down these trees, that we can simply say, well, our bylaws say you have to do it this way. So maybe we can make sure that's a priority at the next meeting. We come up with something. And Shirley, if you need any help, email me or somebody.
I'll talk with Nicole and we'll see if we can get something together for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I know she was planning to talk about that today, so something must have come up for her
Yeah.
not to be here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all right. Pamphlets. Bill, you sent something out.
Yeah, I sent out an example of 3 tree planting flyers. They're available to us from the ISA, the DCR, and the I've forgotten the name of the third organization. I sent copies to you, Ray, and
Yeah,
maybe
everybody didn't get it?
no.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I should have. I have them, yeah, and they're all very nice. I like in particular the DCR one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we, Bill, if you could send them out to everybody.
Okay.
Maybe we can make a decision at the next meeting. But can we get these free of charge? Do we have to pay for them or what?
There's probably a nominal cost, but it won't be terrible. I'll find out.
Okay. I think that's you know, they've done the work that we would,
Oh, Lord, yes, yes.
yeah. Um. Let's, yeah, let's put it on the agenda at the next meeting, and if, oh, that brings up a point, Josh, I'm not sure if I mentioned to you, did you talk to Michael about us spending money? in terms-
Yes,
And,
yep, and he told me that you can submit any of the recommendations directly to Paul.
and does Paul have the responsibility to decide, determine whether to spend it or not? Or,
I think
Does
it's a
that-
group who would
What?
determine if we could spend it. I can just submit the invoice to spend it.
Yeah, just submit the invoice right to Paul.
okay, so if we want to buy 100 pamphlets at
Mhm.
$24.95, that's not a problem. Right? It goes to Paul, he submits the invoice and they pay $24.95 to DCR to get the pamphlets, right? That's the way
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah, and I mean, if
What if we want to spend $2,000 for 3 trees?
I
Same,
understand it, it's fine, but
what?
I
Same
thought that
thing.
was fine as well. We decided as a group where to spend the money. We
Yeah, I
spent
mean,
it.
if Paul ever had a question on something you guys were, spending money on, he could always talk to Michael about it, but yeah, he said just send the invoices directly to Paul and he'll take care of it. He's good to take care of
Well, that's important. That's huge, I think. And Paul's such a nice guy, he's gonna approve everything we,
it. Gonna sneak a bucket truck in there?
Yeah,
hey, there you go. There you go.
I'll
No,
just submit it with my weekly bills, every week I have to submit a batch of bills. And I just get the account number for the, whatever our money is in for that account, and it's simple.
That makes it a lot easier for us. I'm just, to me, that's big right now that we cleared that up. So anything, any money we want to spend, we're simply gonna submit it to Paul, period. Correct?
Yeah, make a recommendation as the committee vote as you usually do, and then submit it to Paul.
And Paul, if we do send you something, do you ever get anything rejected?
No. I mean, it has to be with a reason. Obviously, this isn't,
Mhm.
this money's a little different, right? It's not budgeted money, it's not taxpayer funds per se. So there are guidelines, I mean, we can't go out and buy, ridiculous things, but
Well, I think we probably fairly soon will have to test this in terms of how it works. No, I don't mean to be, I mean, we really need a system so that we know that if we want to spend money on something, we know that it's going to go through a process that has been approved already, that this is, and this, I'm very pleased with this. That's good to hear that, what you're saying, Josh. Okay, anybody, any questions? Shirley?
So let's suppose we were going to plant some trees this fall. And let's suppose a committee of this committee went down to the local nursery and ordered X number of trees to be picked up on such and such a date. And we came back with an invoice and we handed it to Paul. We're going to make an assumption that that's going to go, that that's the way it's going to go. And we're not going to have any pushback on sending that invoice through Paul to whoever writes the check, right? Or pays the bill.
yeah,
I mean-
that's exactly right. I don't see any issue.
Okay, because
Yep.
I don't think we want to be put in a position where we're caught between a supplier and the person who's paying the bills. If we
I mean,
order,
at the same time, like I said, you want to make a recommendation through the committee, so it's not gonna, be a surprise invoice that Paul's getting.
no, but it would be like at a meeting like this.
Mhm,
We decide
yeah,
that we're going to plant a dozen trees. We decide what kind we want and approximately what size we want. And then we go down to the Weston Nursery here and we order the trees. And when we go to get them, they're going to give us an invoice or something. They need to have some record of payment. And we're going to come back and hand that to Paul, and Paul's going to give it to Michael and whoever cuts the check, and that's the way it's going to go. Is that the idea?
Yep, we have to make sure that they're set up in the system as a vendor for the town, but that's something I can do on my end.
Well, wait a minute, Shirley makes an interesting point, though. If, we decide to spend, $7,560 at a nursery, they're gonna want payment before they give us any trees.
No, we'll do 30 days probably. We don't pay anybody ahead of time.
But what happens if they give us the trees and for some reason or other it's not approved?
As long as the money's there, it's within our budget. I think it's within our right to spend it. I'll confirm that when I meet with Michael, but. I
Yeah,
believe,
maybe that would be good because, you have a budget, but it doesn't say, you don't have a line item for trees, do you?
so my budget's separate from this money, but this tree committee fund. That's been building and with the mitigation funds you've already got.
Well, that's a good point. We do have that mitigation money there already.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
Pardon me?
That's the money we're talking about, right?
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
sorry,
but
that's-
also going.
That's what I had talked to Michael about was the mitigation money.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, to clarify, that was it, for the invoicing and submitting them to Paul, it had to do with the mitigation money. Not Paul's budget or anything.
All right, well then, long-term, that brings up another issue then. What happens when we spend all the money, the mitigation money? Then what?
Put your hand up for more.
And we're done.
Yeah, but then we don't know whether it's gonna be approved or not. What you're saying is that since the money's there already, you can simply spend the money, but if we spend that $27,000 and we still wanna buy $3,000 more trees, then where's the money, what you don't have a line item for?
Well, beyond that, is the town willing to set up a budget for purchasing trees without using our mitigation money? I mean, we have been planting trees for years, mostly at the behest of the BIA. But most towns have a small budget that they spend on tree planting. Why couldn't we simply do that?
I think you're right. I think that's the way it should be.
Now, I have a question, Ray. Would this kind of roll into the tree warden's discretion? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's the ordinance we're working on right now, so. It's something to, I mean, when we get to what I have to present, you know, I have his responsibilities and duties and. You know, it defines the tree warden as the paid employee. And Paul would probably know best, you know, there's going to be maintenance and things that come up with that position, so.
Yeah, and it
Would that be
seems to
more-
me that this has come up before. We have not cleared it up in terms of, I emailed Michael a couple times on that. And what you're saying, Josh, is that as long as we have mitigation money, everything is clear as to the process. But if we don't have mitigation money, and we don't have a process, whether it be a tree warden or Paul or whoever's going to try to spend the money and there's no line item for it.
Mhm.
So within my budget, within my department, I have a line item for. I think it's just specified as tree work. I'm sure that could blanket. Removals, pruning. I would have to imagine even purchasing and planting. We just don't because. I guess we'll oversee the forestry budget when we hopefully build that forestry department. But we're not the forestry department per se, so I'm not planting trees on a regular basis. We're spending every penny of that on removal. Well,
Josh, you thinking, when you see Michael, can you clear this up? You know what we're saying here?
Yeah, Paul, do you think it makes sense to just kind of get some of these items for the discussion when you have with Michael and we can get it all clarified?
yeah, so to be clear, I'm gonna meet with him obviously about the timeline of the trucking employee. And then mitigation funds, we think we're clear on, but I'll confirm that we decide as a group, vote, submit the invoice to me, I'll get it paid. And if there is no mitigation funds, will there be a budget line item for the board to spend, or for a forestry foreman or superintendent or tree warden or somebody to spend for access?
Right. Anybody else on this? I think that's the crux of our issue right there, what I just said. Any other comment? Yeah, Shirley?
It's just right now not clear in my mind as to the process, and it looks like we're going to kind of go from hand to mouth. And nothing known ahead of time, so we really can't plan, well, next spring, we're going to put X number of trees out. We don't have an opportunity to plan within a known amount of money, a budget. We're just going to do this by one incident at a time. And wait and see if it's going to be approved, or if there's no mitigation money, will there be money to spend on these items or not? Without any definite plan ahead kind of financial picture.
Well, we do have mitigation money now, and there's a, decent amount of money there that should last some time, right? You foresee us spending $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year on tree purchases, or?
Yeah, but Shirley's talking about what happens when that's gone. I mean, she's right in that we need some sort of, you're saying you don't have a specific line item for trees, but you sort of do, but not,
I do, but we use it for removal. It doesn't mean it couldn't be used for planting, but we don't have the expertise internally or the manpower for that to go out and plant trees. I mean, years ago, we used to, whip together a skeleton crew and help Shirley with the BIA trees. And since then, we're even less in numbers. So there's no realistic way the highway department is planting new trees and maintaining them. It's just not going to happen.
Well, there we go with our new employee.
Correct.
He becomes even more important.
Correct.
We can't plant the trees unless we've got the people to do it. And the town isn't going to pay an outside contractor to come in and plant trees. At least I wouldn't think so.
in my mind, this is the critical issue for this committee right now. We have to work this out. And we just have to pin Michael and the council down on the process, I guess, and whether we'll have money and how we're going to spend it, whether it's, as you said, Bill, whether it's a tree warden or Paul or whoever is going to okay this, but we need some sort of, it probably has to be put into the town code even, maybe, I don't know. That, Paul, I think you have a pretty good idea what we're talking about here. I mean, you need to get some sort of definitive response from Michael on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
If the town puts together a planting schedule, a planting budget, it shouldn't be up to our mitigation funds to, we shouldn't depend upon mitigation money for an annual budget to plant trees.
agreed. Yep.
I think it's a question of Paul certainly doesn't have enough money. Everything's going to go to emergency hazardous removals. So
Yeah, it would definitely have to be in addition to the money we have. It would have to be a new line item that they could put in our budget. We'll oversee it, but somebody, hopefully that employee will be the one that will, all of us, pursue it.
we only have mitigation money because of that, of what Ray did with that solar project or warehouse, whatever project.
Yeah, right.
Kind of an accidental windfall at this point because we don't have a mitigation plan in effect.
But once we do have a plan, every new building will be subject to some type of fees, right?
Yep.
Well, wait a
So
minute.
that fund should continuously be replenished. I mean, I don't.
Just,
remember
just
that
to,
building.
just to clarify, that the new zoning in town does have a line item for mitigation for projects. It does not specifically say trees. mitigation could be sidewalks, mitigation could be crosswalks, mitigation could be a lot of things, but it doesn't say trees. So our ability to, if we come up with a formula, as you're saying, Bill, for the cutting of trees, that would help in terms of if, 5 acres of trees going to be cut down, but mitigation, the fact that we have mitigation in the zoning now is important because it does give the planning board the right to ask for mitigation for the cutting of trees. I'm just saying it's not specifically for trees, though. That's all I'm saying. It could be a number of other things, whatever the board decides it to be. That's all.
Sure.
All right, let's summarize. Where are we? Paul, Josh, you're gonna set up a meeting with Paul and Michael, right?
Yep.
And Paul, I would, Paul, if you said 15 minutes, this may take longer than 15 minutes. So I just,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. But are we clear on what you're gonna be?
I think so.
Yeah, and I'll confirm with Paul too. I'll send an email with notes and everything. And
All right. Anybody else on this? All right, the next meeting in November. God, it's coming November already. This will be one of our, I think, one of the most important things to discuss on the agenda. Okay. Any comments, anybody? All right, good. Let's see, tree mitigation pamphlets on the trees. We already brought that up. On the pamphlets, what we're going to do is to talk about the next meeting. Garden Club offer, nothing, I've heard nothing, so I'm assuming we're not gonna get the $300 that they were going to give us, but fall projects, let's skip that for a second. The Crescent City trees that were cut down at the meeting the town had for the revitalization of the town, whatever it's called, at the Grinnell School. I mentioned the Crescent City trees to Michael, and I don't think anything will be done in terms of what's already that particular cutting. But I think he agreed that we need something in writing that people should be aware that street trees are not their trees to cut down, that they're town trees. They have to go through the town tree warden, whoever, before they can cut trees down. Anybody want to make a recommendation? How? Yeah, Shirley?
Well, one thing I thought that, and I don't know what's planned for the pamphlets on the trees, but I thought that might be a vehicle by which we could inform the public that they do not have or do not own the trees that are within the right of way of the street. And that there is a fine if they are damaged by willful desire on the part of the homeowner. So some way we need to educate the homeowners. People do not come in, work with a real estate agent, buy a piece of property and automatically know what the rules and regs by the town are regarding street trees and many other things, to say the least. And so they go ahead and think that they own everything from the asphalt to the fence in the backyard and do whatever they want with their property.
Yeah,
That's just, I'm not sure that's the way it goes.
So
we need more education.
the problem we're gonna find with that, that we'll have to work through is that just simply saying that the trees within the town right of way aren't yours is very vague because nobody knows where the town right of way is, including me. I don't know where the right of way is on every road. So it
But then
takes,
at least we could say that before you cut down any trees on the front of your property that borders a road, you must talk with the tree warden.
We have,
yeah, normally, I mean, if you're within 10 feet of the road, you should be checking, but
yeah, we need to have an application so it can be approved or not.
Yes.
Okay, what's the best way of getting this information out in the fact that we don't have newspapers anymore? We don't have everything's online now.
I think we discussed tax bills, water bills, flyers in those. And we really have to publish it on social media.
Well, the tax bill thing is a good idea. I mean, that obviously people, when they open it up, there's another piece of paper in there.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten things like that in the past, so we could work that out once we get the flyer done.
Well, the flyer and the notification about cutting trees don't necessarily have to be the same thing, do they? You know what I'm saying?
It would be an educational thing. And that we're gonna have an application that poor Bill's gonna have to review.
Like for the new tree warden.
Yeah.
The new tree warden, okay.
Josh, do you have any idea whether you can put anything else in the tax bills besides the tax bill itself?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Because I've never gotten anything other than the tax bill.
No, and
I-
I can ask about that, but I don't know off the top of my head.
I just
I-
got something from the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and it was full of advertising along with
Yeah.
my registration documents.
Yeah,
Seems to me we should be able to get on that bandwagon.
I think I got one about picking up dog poop in my tax bill one time.
Yeah,
It was, sent to every home that pays taxes. So that's a great way to do it if we can work it out.
goes to every homeowner.
Yep.
I hate to say this, but Josh, can you check that out, whether we can do that?
Is there
Yeah.
gonna be an imposed fine or? Who's gonna monitor, or is it just something that we see? That if somebody does this? Like, for example, we have a town bylaw about driveways. It's not really enforced because nobody really knows about it. You're technically supposed to inform the town if you're paving your driveway, nobody does. And there's all kinds of things that are there that they're just not enforced because nobody really knows, and this is gonna fall in that same category. And if we enforce it, then, there has to be some type of penalty, I would assume.
I think we have something, don't we? Isn't that under that 290? Seems to me I've read that and I think it was our town. I'll have to try to dig into that.
Wait a minute, Paul, you're saying that if you put a new driveway in, you're supposed to inform the town?
That's the way I understand it. It says you should have a permit for a driveway in case you damage the road while you're putting in the driveway, that we can hold a bond on you.
Well, would the contractor get the permit normally, or like electrician, or?
So it's one of those things that never really got enforced, and it's there, but the only time it happens is really new construction now. But
Well, I guess what I'm saying is there may be other things besides cutting trees and driveways that people do without getting
I'm
permits.
sure there is, but I don't know that that's. For this
No,
meeting.
that's just an aside.
I think somehow the building inspector got involved in the driveway issue. But that would happen only if you were putting in a driveway or putting in an additional driveway or something to that effect. All those driveways that currently exist got there by the luck of the draw, I think, without a whole lot of influence or reporting done. But I think the only way you can guarantee that there will be some interaction between the town and the person who's putting in your driveway is if it's going to be a new driveway. And
That's
usually that would be the building inspector, but they don't do that unless you're going to put in a garage. That's when the building inspector kicks in, so to speak.
I put a new driveway in maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I didn't get a permit. I don't know
What
if
was
they.
that? Was that a
No,
replacement?
I didn't think of it. I mean, I'm not sure whether the contractor did. I do remember when, a few years ago, I was walking home and Steve Solari drove up, just was going by and he saw some guys putting a roof up on a house 3 or 4 houses down from ours, and he closed it down right there. He said, "You guys didn't get a permit. Go home."
Oh,
That's a good example, Ray. It has to be something like that. We have to have the ability to stop somebody because people are gonna do it regardless of what rules you have in place. But if somebody sees it, we have to have the ability to stop them. We can't just say, you can't do that because they're gonna laugh and keep doing it. You have to have the authority or the ability to put a stop immediately request or whatever.
Well, yeah, but I think part of it is simply being uninformed about certain things. You know, I put a new shed in, I knew I needed permit, and I did. When I put a new driveway in, I didn't even think of it, never even had in my head that I had to have a permit to do it. So this, what we're talking about is actually a bigger issue than simply cutting trees down in front of your house. It seems like something the town has to deal with in terms of permitting. I don't know, I'm not sure how to proceed on this. It's not just cutting trees down here.
but that's what we have to focus on.
Just
I know.
wondering if it's as big a problem as we're thinking it is because, I mean, let's be honest, most people don't want to pay for that. Most people are gonna hopefully think somebody else owns the tree because our phone rings daily of calls. You know, I have a hazardous tree or a dead tree or a bad limb on the tree in front of my house. I think it's a town tree and everybody thinks the tree's a town tree. So maybe it's not really that big a deal. People aren't running around cutting trees down in front of my house every day. I mean, since Crescent Street, I don't know of any others.
I think you're right, but at the same time, Crescent Street issue is a pretty bad example of how things can go wrong. I mean, they just cut 4 trees down.
It's gonna get worse as solar gets more involved.
True.
How do you want to proceed?
We should work on a flyer and
To be put in the tax?
try to find out if we can do that.
That's a good idea. If we could find out what's allowed with putting things in a tax bill, perhaps we could put together a flyer of a lot of the things that we've been bringing up here, whether it's trees or driveways or whatever it might be.
I'll tell you what, that's a good point. I'll take the responsibility. I'll check with the accounting department, tax department, and see what we can put in, okay? And then you can think about what you want to say, and at the next meeting, we can decide and go forward with it, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, Herbie trees, any ideas? Where Merrily wants to have ideas. Bill, I know you suggested 2 trees in front of the Academy building, I think, last time.
Oh,
Mhm.
2? Mhm.
Not with only one, Ray.
I thought Bill said 2, and I don't know. Bill?
I think that the property is big enough for 2 Herbie elms.
Okay.
One on either side of the front lawn.
Mhm.
I mean, you could put 1 in there, but it's gonna look pretty small for a long time.
And they get to be 100 feet tall?
It doesn't, they're not gonna be 100 feet tall. But they're not gonna get to maturity for 35 or 40 years.
Hmm. No. We'll have to stick around to see them, eh?
Right, we'll have to make a plan. But
Anybody else, any ideas?
Pat and I took a tour yesterday to see where we might be planting the Herbie trees. We were really wearing 2 hats, but we didn't talk about it as such. One hat is for the BIA, which has ordered 10 Herbie trees to be planted I believe it's this fall. And the message would be that those trees will be planted on town property, i.e. schools, fire department, police department, etc. Then also there was some discussion here about planting Herbie trees, but we have not ordered, the tree committee, has not ordered any Herbie trees from the place where they are purchased. So we are looking at maybe capitalizing on what the BIA has ordered. There are 10 that are coming for the BIA.
I
When
thought,
Pat-
Shirley, I thought all we're doing is making a recommendation to the BIA. We're not doing anything ourselves.
All right, in that case, we have 16, we've identified 16 potential locations for the 10 Herbie trees that are coming to Bridgewater and paid for by the BIA.
Right. Could you just go through them quickly?
And we have a list of them, and what I'm going to do to make it easier is to work with Carlton Hunt and put them on a Google map so that you can actually see the location where these trees are going to go. The thing that we might do today is decide on the 10 locations. As I said, Pat and I identified 16 locations. So we can lop off 6 of them
Okay,
if you want to do that, or if
that's a
you
good
want
idea.
to.
No, I think
Alright.
it's a good idea. Let's do it. Why don't you go through it? And we can vote on it, then you could send it to the BIA merely.
Okay, the locations are, let's talk about schools first. The Mitchell School, which is off of South Street, there's one grassy area as you're driving in, perhaps about 200 yards in off of the road on the right-hand side. It's an empty lot, and there's room for one tree there. Also, at the exit off of Mount Prospect Street, close to the street, this is the old high school I'm talking about now, the old high school, off of Mount Prospect Street. As you're coming in off of Center Street, it's closest to where the cars are parked. There's a rather large open lawn there.
Yep,
We could plant easily more than one, but we thought maybe one close to the street so that it stands up. Wherever we're recommending putting them, we're recommending them being close to the street so that they will stand out. Not in the backyard of the building, but close to the street.
Sure.
So also at the old high school, the second exit, it's down by the
happened. What happened?
tennis court, the entrance into the tennis court.
Okay, here we go.
Um,
I'm sorry, I'm sure about you guys, but it said my internet, I didn't get the last minute. The internet, it says it's unstable, mine anyway. Could you just repeat that, Shirley, about the old high school?
Okay, the old high school, the entrance off of Center Street,
Right,
that's opposite the entrance into the new high school where there's a stoplight.
right,
There's an open space there where on the left-hand side is a big kind of grassy area where we could put a Herbie tree.
okay,
Then it's around the corner onto Mount Prospect Street at 2 front entrances or exits in front of the old high school. There is room for another 2 Herbie trees. There's also one that is sort of in the back of the school that probably is not as conspicuously placed. So because we have 16 on this list and we can only plant 10, I'm going to suggest that we not worry about the one that is off further deeper into the building lot, and just worry about perhaps the 3 trees, that 1 on Center and 2 on Mount Prospect. All right, is that okay with you if I sort of arbitrarily suggest that we don't plant a 4th tree at the old high school? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, can I interrupt you really quickly? One, I have to leave by like 3. And kids to pick up. And
Did you ask a question?
I think Ray actually dropped out of the call. Yeah, we lost
We
Ray.
did.
Okay. I have to cut out at 3 o'clock and just wanted to let you know.
Sure.
So do you mind if we make a decision here without you, Paul?
I do not mind. Do we have a decision on who's planting the trees?
Probably eventually you will be.
Me?
Your forestry department.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we get one. No, whatever's decided is fine with me. I mean, if I can think of, or if I see something that would be alarming, I would certainly let you know, but kind of,
All right. Well, I'm trying to figure the most expeditious way of doing this. I kind of feel that if we were to put these tree suggestions on a map and email them around to all of you, and then you could look at that and decide if there are trees that you definitely want to omit from the locations that are on that map. Because as I said, we selected 16 with the understanding that we can only plant, we're only going to receive 10. And of those 10, 2 of them are going to be at the, 3 of them are going to be at the, no, excuse me. 2 of them have been promised to the Martin Institute building on the college campus. And the 3rd one has been is going to be reserved for the little park. So there are really only 7 trees that we, out of the 16, only 7 trees that we're gonna, excuse me, have to vote for. 7 trees on the map that you will select. Does that make sense?
yes, there's 10 trees with 16 locations, but you already have 3 trees spoken for. So we'll really just be deciding on 7 trees over 16 locations.
Thank you. Yes, that's it. And
Perhaps,
you'll get that out next week.
yeah, wait, look, why don't we wait until we see that, what Carlton comes up with?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it would be better to wait so that you see it, because trying to describe it doesn't do justice to it right now.
Right.
Is that okay with all of you?
Good
Will
with me.
and Sue?
Share a screen on Google Earth, is that possible?
What I'm hoping he can do is put it on a map and then email it to you as an attachment.
He did say he put it on Google Earth,
You
Yeah.
can?
so we could access it.
Okay, I'll let him figure it out, seeing as that's all new information to me. So we're in agreement. And we've lost Ray. Have we lost him for good?
Oh,
He hasn't been trying to reconnect. You guys no
Hmm.
longer have quorum of members, so
Are we out of order then by making any decisions now?
but if you for the tree recommendation, if you wanted to email it to me, Shirley, I could get it out to the committee and compile all their if they have any recommendations or how they want to vote.
Sure. Okay, that would be good. It's all right with everyone else?
Good with me.
okay.
Give them another minute. and
What we
I'll have
do
to
with
do a
this
meeting for
For
you.
the rest of this meeting,
Sorry.
what do we do with the rest of the meeting without Ray here?
Unfortunately, it can't continue without a quorum. So like I said, we'll give them
See if
another
this is
minute.
Ray.
I'm gonna have to help everyone, thank you.
I'll get that invite to you, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Sorry, I'm not gonna take the call right now, but if you wait.
Can I call you right back? I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'll call you right back.
Wait a minute, Ray, it's Ray, Ray needs to talk to you.
Oh, all right, right, this is Ray.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
Hey, Shirley, you
Hey.
there?
What happened?
I don't know, we've lost our, I've lost Zoom completely, gone.
All right,
My phone, and I tried using my phone all with you, have to, I can't get back on for now. And there's not much left, I mean, you could, make a recommendation about what 10 trees, you guys have done a good job.
okay, we just
Okay.
finished the discussion on the trees and decided we're going to put them on a map, and Josh is going to get them out to all of us. We'll make a decision on locations once we see the map with the trees on it.
That means another month.
No, we're gonna do it all through email. And we'll
And
get,
then send it to Mary, right?
I'll get the maps
Okay,
out
that's
next week, and it'll be a turnaround, almost immediate turnaround on your part, on the part of the members.
Could you, the last thing I think is the, form, discuss that at the next meeting. And
The last thing is the what?
Forum, we had two other things on the agenda, the forum, which we discussed,
Yep,
Right.
forum, right?
which, we have to see whether we want to make a recommendation and a planting for the senior center.
Is that at the, oh, that's the last item on the agenda.
Next to the last.
You can just put that on to the next agenda, okay?
Both the forum and the senior center plannings for the next agenda.
Right,
Okay,
okay?
so we'll,
Apologize to everybody, but I mean, I don't